Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. And today, we're going to talk about the 10 Commandments of Damage Control. The U.S. Navy turned damage control into an art form during World War II. And I believe it was sometime in the post-war period that they came up with the 10 Commandments of Damage Control, which we're going to run through today. And these Bakelite signs that are printed show up at most of the repair lockers around the ship. We're at repair locker 1A, or main deck aft, which is the starboard aft end of the superstructure here on Battleship New Jersey. Compartment 1, 141, TAC 2, TAC L, if you're following along on your booklet of general plans. So, 10 Commandments of Damage Control. Keep your ship watertight. It's interesting, this is the number one commandment in the Secretary of the Interior's standards for maintaining a historic vessel. So basically the rules for that, which is like a multi-hundred page document, Bible-sized, that says, to break it down into one sentence, leave things as close to original as possible, unless you need to do it for the watertight integrity of the ship. So keep your ship watertight. If you've got to repair a hole in the side of the ship by taking the mattress off your bed and stuffing it in there, that is a damage control technique that is taught. Like you can break every rule in the book if you're plugging a hole in the ship. Number 2, do not violate material conditions. So material conditions are, you guys have seen these all over the ship. There's an X, a Y, or a Z stenciled, sometimes a W, on all of the doors and windows and other things that tells you that during condition X-ray, all the X's get closed. During general quarters, everything gets closed. X's, Y's, and Z's. So basically, don't go to a closed door and just open it and go through. You're supposed to contact Damage Control Central and let them know that you're moving through, so they can say, oh yeah, that's fine. There's no flooding or fire or whatever on the other side of that door. Opening it isn't going to cause any damage. So in addition to this chart, most of the repair lockers also have a damage control markings chart. Not that all these sailors don't have them memorized, but just in case, better safe than sorry, there is one of those charts. Ours is right here across from the repair locker that lists all those markings. And we've done a video about this one in the past. There'll be a link to that in the description. Long time ago. So most of you might not have seen it yet. 3, have confidence in your ship's ability to withstand severe damage. Warships are incredibly well built. It is very, very infrequent, given the number of times that they're damaged, that you have some sort of catastrophic wrecking event. Those are what we remember. The Arizonas blowing up, or the hoods, or things like that. But in general, you start to see water in the ship or a fire on the ship and you panic. You don't have to. The ship will stay afloat and keep you alive for much longer than you think she can. We see instances of these in action relatively recently with ships like Stark and Samuel B. Roberts sustaining damage that should have sunk them. Even using digital computers to map the damage says that those ships should have sunk. And yet they survive, return to the United States, and are returned to service after repairs. So you can have confidence in your ship and her ability to withstand damage. Many of these remind me of USS Yorktown CV-5 at the Battle of Midway. The crew abandoned ship at one point, and the ship doesn't sink, so they get back on. If they had stayed on all along, maybe they would have had a better chance of saving the ship. Obviously, when the Japanese submarine torpedoes her a couple days after the battle, that's the ball game. But you see this with some other incidents early in World War II, while the United States is still perfecting their damage control techniques. But by the end of the war, you see ships like Franklin, where the commanding officer is given permission to abandon ship by the admiral. He looks at the ship flaming and all these secondary explosions going off, and he's like, hey, you haven't announced abandoned ship yet. If you want to do that, I'm not going to court-martial you. And the captain, even though 1/3 of his crew is dead, and usually it's about twice the number dead or injured, so over 900 sailors are dead and more are injured. He's lost more than half of his crew, and he manages to get his ship home afterwards. So you can have confidence in your ship's ability to withstand damage. And that is a floating gas and bomb factory that is a World War II aircraft carrier with a wooden roof that's not stopping anything. So imagine the survivability of a ship like New Jersey. Know your way around, even in the dark. I've heard stories from sailors that when they're brought on board the ship, they're taken to a random place and blindfolded and told to find their way back up to main deck. The ship has excellent lighting and emergency lighting that's battery powered in case that lighting goes out. But it's always possible that you lose all your lighting and you still need to find your way out. If you find your way back up to main deck, there will be officers there who are mustering people to abandon ship or to go and fight the damage. So that is what you're supposed to do. Number 5, how to use and maintain damage control equipment. That one seems like a no-brainer. Maybe the first couple cover it so well that they're just reaching for stuff at this point. Every sailor is trained in damage control. If you have a fire in your house, the first thing you're supposed to do is leave the house, and then you call the fire department. You don't call it while you're still in the house. You don't try and fight the fire yourself. If something goes wrong, then you get hurt and maybe nobody else knows you're there and something bad could happen. But we teach this to the smallest kids that are able to understand. But if you're on a ship, you can't call the fire department. You are the fire department. So you have to know how to use all the equipment. And that's why sailors go through damage control training extensively. Obviously, that is a rating. There are some sailors who specialize in it. But everybody can use the equipment and do it. And in an emergency, they've got it because there's nobody else that can. 6, report damage to the nearest damage control station. Like this one right here. This goes back to that previous one. If you're a sailor and you're trained in damage control and you find a fire, you do not start fighting that fire. The first thing you've got to do is report it to someone else. If you get hurt fighting that fire, then you're down and nobody else knows that there's a fire there. So report it to a damage control station. They'll report it to Damage Control Central, and then Damage Control Central will determine the best way to fight that fire or flooding or whatever the instance is, and will dispatch a damage control team with the right tools from their damage control locker to come and handle it. And it may include you, but make sure somebody else knows about it first. 7, keep personal articles properly secured at all times. Oftentimes, damage happens when you're not expecting it, particularly the catastrophic damage. Arizona, during the attack on Pearl Harbor. We weren't at war. Nobody was ready for that. Damage control efforts on those Pearl Harbor battleships, in addition to Arizona, would have been hampered if everybody's personal artifacts were just sitting around the ship. Hey, you've seen how tight the spaces are on here, the spaces between racks and whatnot. If you've just got uniforms and personal effects and stuff laying all over the place, how are you supposed to go through and with a damage control party in an emergency? How are you supposed to abandon ship in an emergency? If you've just got a bunch of fabrics laying around and all of a sudden a fire breaks out, well, shoot, you've just thrown fuel into that fire. If it's all stored up in your metal locker where it's supposed to be, it's not causing as big of an issue. It's not getting in the way. 8, practice personal damage control. Protect yourself so you can protect your ship. This one ties in really well to number 6. You are the one who's supposed to fix the ship. You are the one who has training to this. If you do unsafe things, run into the burning room without letting anyone else know that there's a fire, you get hurt, nobody knows about it, nobody can help the ship, and it gets out of control. So keep yourself safe first. Don't risk your life to save the ship. because you've got another repair party behind you that has even more equipment, and between the group of you, you can probably handle this without anyone getting hurt. 9, take every possible step to save the ship as long as a bit of hope remains. This one ties back into number 3, have confidence in your ship. As long as that ship is still above water, there's a chance you can save it. You can stop the flooding, you can pump it out. There is a way to save the ship. So keep trying to do it. Don't get disheartened when you see the damage control plate that's got the grease pencil markings on it that the fire is spreading, it's all over the place, and you're pumping water in there, so now the ship is sinking, and oh my God, it looks so bad, we've got to abandon ship. No, she can take it. These ships are built with a tremendous reserve of buoyancy. They are not particularly flammable. It's all steel around here. Like the ship may suffer a lot of damage to those spaces, but it takes an awful lot to impact the ship's survivability. And then number 10, keep cool. Don't give up the ship. Okay, and this ties back into just about all of them. Like, keep cool, keep your head about you. If you're getting overwhelmed, take a step back and look at it, look at the situation and see that, hey, the space that I'm in is still fine. The problem is all over there. Like, I've got this group of guys behind me, we can go and handle it. They're all trained professionals. They've got the very, very best tools that exist to deal with this. Of course, don't give up the ship is a very important Navy saying. Captain Lawrence said this during the fight between Leopard and Chesapeake back in 1814, and it has been on Navy flags and a Navy saying ever since. Don't give up the ship. Which of these 10 do you think is most important? Let us know in the comment section down below, or jump over to my Facebook page, a link in the description below, and reach out to me there. There's fewer people there, so I'm more likely to get back to you personally. I think that don't give up the ship encompasses all of the other ones. But let me know what you think. You can help Battleship New Jersey with our modern day damage control by supporting us, either by volunteering on board, or, and there's a link below for that, or by donating to help support our volunteer program, and there's a link below for that too. Battleship New Jersey receives operating funds from the New Jersey Department of State, but also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves, and we really appreciate that. We could not keep from giving up the ship without the funds you give us to keep her afloat. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about us and our channel. Thanks for watching. Don't give up the ship.